Fellow Ambazonians, this Saturday, August 23rd, 2025, is Momo County Draft, and the time is 8 p.m. Ambazonia time. My good people, friends, and the leadership of the 5 local government areas, including Momo County, my people from Mogamo, from Menemo, from Gi, Njikwa, Widikum local government areas. We all know Momo is a battleground county. External spoilers have tried to weaken our hand on the ground, but our genuine forces, working together with some of our people at home and abroad, have severely degraded the enemy's presence and activities as we know it. However, this is an opportunity for us to consolidate and unite. Let us rise above divisions and the politics of personal glory. The real question is and should be, who takes the glory, Ambazonia or La République du Cameroon? Our determined and valiant Ambazonia State Armed Forces in Momo are waiting for our leadership, our substance, our coordination, and our sacrifices. Let us arise from the dust, stand together as one county, and make Momo great again. All roads lead to the draft on Saturday, August 23rd at 8 p.m. Ambazonia time. Come forward, draft for Momo, stand for Ambazonia. Victory is certain if we stand as one man. Thank you.
There's no better way to have started this program. The president has just laid down a framework for tonight. Let one Momo great again. Momo County is not just a major player in the Midland zone of Ambazonia. Momo County is a major player in the entire Ambazonian liberation war or the liberation movement. Tonight, we're going to be processing a lot of things about Momo. But before we do so, we want to refresh our minds of some of the reasons why the people of Ambazonia collectively from every county, every LGA would decide that after 5 decades of enslavement, of a brutal occupation, they would have to unanimously resist French Cameroon's hegemony and occupation and ensure the restoration of an independence that was sadly stolen. We've had major actors that have participated from time immemorial to ensure that the people of Ambazonia or the South Cameroons can also have their years. And some of these game changers or major player is with us tonight in the studio. I'm talking about Professor Ayim, who has not only taken the pain to write down the Ambazonian history, he has documented it more than once. He was among the team of brave Southern Cameroonians who decided for the first time in history to take the Republic of Cameroon to court in Banjul on the case. So I'm talking about a fighter, a warrior in Momo County who started the war or the battle against Cameroon for more than 2 decades as we speak. We know the name Ambazonia was given to us by a son of Momo, precisely from Widekum. We're talking about His Royal Highness Fru John Nsoh. He's also going to be telling us a little bit more about who Fru John Nsoh. But I think it's important that this week, when Ambazonia reflects in history, a sad saga that had happened in the nation of Ambazonia, few years after Biya took government, in his experimentation or his act of annihilation, he would experiment a bomb in Lake Nyos. Scientists have struggled to give other definition or explanations that do not meet geology or anthropology. Fortunately, I have a scientist with me here that's going to have any iota of truth. But the unpopular side of the investigation has that Mr. Biya came and planted a bomb in Lake Nyos that killed close to 10,000 Ambazonians at their sleep. Why didn't he try it in other lakes across the Cameroons put together? As if that is not all, Mr. Biya denied it and paid German scientists to change the story and claimed that the crater lake, for some reason, became a volcanic lake and it was poisonous gases. So why the panelists, Barrister Team, Professor Ayim, Commander Kenneth, I crave your indulgence to give to us a few seconds, just a few minutes, so we can transition into the newsroom and exactly what happened in Lake Nyos. That will be the beginning of tonight, right after the break.
Oh, well, Mr. Top Party King has already laid the foundation to the tragedy that happened on Lake Nyos. Well, on the night of August 21st, 1986, the sleepy highlands of Momo County were shaken not by war, but by one of nature's most silent killers. Lake Nyos, a crater lake formed by volcanic activities, suddenly released a lethal cloud of carbon dioxide. The odorless invisible gas swept across valleys and villages, suffocating over 1,700 people and more than 3,000 cattle within minutes. Entire families were found lifeless in their homes, their bodies showing no wounds, only the cruel mark of asphyxiation. Now, scientists later explained that the lake had been slowly saturating with volcanic gases from beneath. When the natural cap holding the gases broke, the lake exploded, turning a calm water body into a weapon of mass death. Now, this event, known as a limnic eruption, remains one of the deadliest of its kind in human history, and still also a mystery to a lot of Ambazonians. Now, while the natural disaster, as scientists will later call it, itself was unavoidable, it was what followed exposed the deeper tragedy of neglect. Now, survivors were left with trauma, homelessness, and haunting memories of seeing their kin and livestock perish instantly. Displaced families expected swift rehabilitation and long-term support. Instead, they were abandoned to fate. Relief came late, inadequate, and unsustainable. The promises of relocation, development, and dignified care for survivors quickly disappeared into the abyss of Yaoundé's empty commitment. Decades later, the scars remain visible. Villages around Lake Nyos still bear the marks of desertion, underdevelopment, and silence. Survivors who were resettled continue to live on the margins of society, struggling with poverty, poor infrastructure, and broken promises. Well, Lake Nyos did not only reveal the fury of nature, it unmasked the failure of governance. The colonial government in Yaoundé exploited the tragedy for headlines, but not for healing. Billions of francs CFAs earmarked for victims, resettlement vanished into corruption and bureaucracy. The international community sent aid, but much of it never reached the suffering people. Even worse, the people of Momo County and the larger southern Cameroons felt once again the cruel weight of marginalization. Their lives, their suffering, and their futures seemed expendable in a union where they were never treated as equal citizens to begin with. Well, for Ambazonians, Lake Nyos is more than a natural disaster. It is a metaphor for betrayal. Just as the lake erupted after years of hidden pressure, so too did the frustration of the people erupt after decades of neglect and oppression. Fungorji Dinka's legacy lies most vividly in the act of naming Ambazonia and asserting that a nation's right to self-determination is rooted in its dignity and identity. While Lake Nyos stands only as proof that when tragedy strikes, southern Cameroons are left to mourn alone. In the memory of the victims, the message is clear. The survival and dignity of Ambazonia cannot be left in the careless hands of a system that sees them only as a statistics. Now, the forgotten families of Lake Nyos echo the cry of an entire nation that if they are to be safe, heard, and dignified, they must take ownership of their destiny. Now, we'll hand this back over to our news director, Mr. Tapati King, to look into the mysteries and the analyses of these German scientists, if they actually were true or false. Over to you now.
Thank you very much, Tasmat, for that very exceptional report you've just given there. I would say that it was very exceptional. Thank you very much. We intentionally decided to give the rhetoric as propagated by Cameroon's media, that we can see the illegality of their narrative to deny what actually happened. But I'd like to make one correction there, Tasmat, a couple of corrections. First of all, Lake Nyos is in Donga Mantum. But I'm happy with the statistics you gave, because that is what people to know. But a German researcher recorded that same night, the very night, you had at least 7,000 people that died. Days later on, more corpses were discovered. More than 10,000 cattle were destroyed. In fact, agriculture became very difficult in that entire region for a long time. Why am I bringing this? Because I have a lecturer with me here today. And because I want us to have a conversation, I would like Commander Kenneth to come on camera, please, so that we have a communication on some of those things that angered the people out in Cameroon, and that would decide that no matter what it takes, they would have to get their own country. I begin with Ayim as a rep from Mount, and as someone who has documented Ambazonian, someone who is written in the history in Ambazonia for actually documenting of and fighting the war. Talk to us a little bit in this delight. Professor Ayim. Professor Ayim, can you hear me, please?
Hello, Paddy. Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Go ahead.
And thank you for having me on your show today, and which is supposed to be pre-draft for the Momo County. I'm always delighted to talk about anything Ambazonia that affects Ambazonia and the Republic du Cameroon at this proper time. Let's say Lake Nyos is located in Menchum.
Correct.
So
not Donga Mantum.
Yes. Not Donga Mantum, not anywhere else. It's Menchum. I have trekked I have trekked through Womb to Nkambe, and I passed by, and I have first-hand experience sight of Lake Nyos. So this event that happened at Lake Nyos, there are many theories. There is, I believe, the version I know, that it was not only a gas leak, it was a vicious act where the French tested their bomb there. It's the to gas and other stuff is lies. They used it to test their bombs, and the first trial was at Fuma, the lake in Fuma. They didn't succeed there, and major at Lake Nyos, they succeeded, and a lot of devastation was done in our territory. Why Ambazonia should always be used for experiment is what beats my imagination. That the United Nations, having freely given independence to other trust territories, per their charter, per their articles and resolutions, decides to dilly-dally with the former British Cameroons. Now we're talking about the British Northern Cameroons, now the British Southern Cameroons. They're just playing us games from one illegality to another illegality to another illegality that has resulted to so many in our territory. And now a former UN trust territory, the Republic of Cameroon, is loading it over another UN trust territory, which is the Southern Cameroons. And now our survivor seems to be like Islam Republic to give us or to dictate to us what our status should be instead of the United Nations. I am just so confused as to why the United Nations and the world is doing this to the Southern Cameroons, Ambazonia. It is unfair. It is illegal. It makes no sense. We have lives, people are displaced, refugees here and there. We are living a life of turbulence in our own territory for no us. So I'm very, very worried about why the UN is doing this to us. The other day I listened to the Secretary General when he went in support of Ibrahim Traore. His speech at the UN, he talked about, he blamed the UN for violating its charter. The UN Secretary General the UN for violating its charter for so long. I'm like, oh God, he has turned around here. But who is leading the UN? Who is there? You, the Secretary General. The stroke of the pen with a minute, correct this problem, rectify this situation, and stop our people being killed by the Republic of Cameroon of UN trust territory as well. Enough is enough. It's just too much. And the injustice is too much.
Yeah, thank you.
Come about with France.
Thank you very much, Ayim.
Go ahead, sir.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Ayim. We have a lot to cover as we get into the national news and then get into what Momo County is all about. And then we're waiting for people to join the Zoom. There's so much for us to cover this evening. And I also thank you for bringing to my attention. You wouldn't imagine, I don't know, maybe it's fatigue. I'm looking in front of me, and I'm actually seeing Menchum, and I'm calling in Ndongamanti. You know, it's it's amazing. So, but the objective I brought this is because this is the same week. When France and Cameroon did that experiment, because they did not value the life of our people. And it's sad that even as we draft now, we still have some Ambazonians that are not seemingly realizing that our lives are not being valued by the colonial administration. Commander Kenneth, for a long time we've not heard you. I'd like you to speak before I get to the lawyers. I know they have a lot to say on this aspect before we go back into the newsroom. I'd like you to speak on related situations that are happening in Momo, for instance, and what is that driving force? There are some Ambazonians who have joined the war today because of what happened in Lake Nyos. Some Momoans probably because of what has happened nationwide. But you are security chief in Momo County. What is that driving force that keeps it on and on in spite of the obstacles and challenges that you people face? Please talk to us, Commander Kenneth.
Yeah, thank you, Director Fadi. Thank you for having me on today. I want to say good evening to our fellow panelists and to those of your crew that are doing everything possible to keep ABC TV alive every now and then. I mostly come here to report on we have Professor Ayim there. He will be looking at the historical facts and whatever that is happening of Momo. I am here to mostly talk about the defense-related aspects. So, when it comes to what is keeping us taking Momo with regards to the defense, I'll first of all look at what we are working on right now. You know, initially Momo had been working at the level of LGDs. We have been strong at the level of LGDs. And while that had its strength, after some time, you know, some of the ASAs we had there started some sort of getting into their own LGAs and not looking at the general aspect of us working together as a team or working together as Momo, as one county. So what we are doing right now is trying to re-educate them to understand that together we win, that we should stand across, each fighter, be it from any LGA, can go into any LG and be able to operate there without having any worries. So what we have now is a force that we are trying to, bring forth as a county force, no longer as, belonging to LGAs. Maybe after some time, after they've been working together after some time, we may send them back into, to the various regions, to various areas in the county to work there, or assign them certain regions in which they can operate. But for now, what we are looking at is bringing them together to let them have that unity within them. Yes, to let them have that unity within them and understand that together they are stronger. So, for now.
So if I do understand you very well, Commander Kenneth, you are saying that Momo is currently undergoing, I heard during APP, one of the LGA chairs also saying that Momo is currently restructuring defense.
Restructuring. We are actually restructuring. Yes.
Some form of restructuring for proper coordination.
Yes. That is true. Yeah, that is true.
That's amazing. We're going to come back so they can give some details on that. We'll come back after we examine some reports on the ground and the massacres that took place in Momo, so that at that time the energy will be higher. You give us more details on this aspect. We'll focus just on it. You tell us more. So let me take it now to Barrister Fru, so that he can give us a brief caption on this saga and why Ambazonians that are coming here today will have to see why they need East Momo County in their effort to defend themselves and to prosecute this unfortunate war. Barrister Fru, please talk to us.
Yes, Paddy, thank you very much. Let me talk about Lake Nyos. It happened when I was working in Douala. I was not yet a practicing attorney. I had come back from the United States and I was working, and I was in Bamenda for the weekend. And just as I left, it happened. let me tell you, Lake Nyos exploded on the night of the 21st, the 20th, breaking the 21st of August, 1986. And the first respondent to arrive there was the Israeli Prime Minister. At that time, the senior divisional officer of Momo of Dongamanto of Wum Dongamanto was this guy who manages the DDR. He was the governor. He was our governor in Douala. What is his name again? Yengo Francis. Yengo Francis. And the Minister of Territorial Administration then was Maxime Mengeme. Yengo Francis only found the Israeli Prime Minister already at Nyos. Why? We scholars in Douala at the time, we analyzed and found and came to the conclusion that that bomb was dropped in Nyos by the Israelis. They might have been aided by the French, but were by the Israelis. And it was sold to the Israelis. That operation was accepted and sold to the Israelis by Mr. Paul Biya. Using this guy, Yengo Francis, as his point man in Dongamanto, I mean in Minchum. He was the SG of Minchum at the time. And he did his worst. The foreign aid that came in, the first respondent that came from Europe and America and so on, he got all the blankets, he got all the money that came, everything that came, all the rescue equipment was managed on the ground by Yengo Francis. He is still living. And one day he will explain to us what happened in Nyos, because he knew everything from A to Z. Mr. Biya connived with the Israelis and they dropped a testing bomb on Nyos. That testing bomb might have brought out the volcanic gas from the lake. A friend of mine died just the first day he went on leave. He's from Wum. He was a commissioner of police in Douala. He died in Lake Nyos. So many people died. We cannot begin to give you the figure of those who died. Mr. Biya arranged to call it 3,000 something with the British and with the French and the Israelis, more especially the Israelis. What was the Prime Minister of Israel doing in Nyos at the time if he knew nothing about it? He was one of the first world leader to arrive Nyos. And this thing, it looks like a few of us don't really understand the nature, what happened in Nyos, because at that time we were still, some of you were still kids. It became clear to us when we heard about the death of that commissioner and what happened and who was there at the time, that it was a thing orchestrated by the Israelis in collaboration with the Cameroon government. Let the Cameroon government, let Mr. Biya, whether living or dead, will one day tell us how much they were paid and what happened. Our people were displaced. The few that survived, when they were displaced to another village a little further than yours, and settlements were built. What kind of settlement? Substandard settlement that didn't last, I don't know for how long. And after 5, 6, 7 years, the people gradually started going back to Nyos, and they are there now. Nyos has gone back to itself. Nyos has not erupted since then. That is to tell us that that incident was orchestrated by Mr. Beer in collaboration with the Prime Minister of Israel, to test that bomb in Nyos. Why Nyos? It's Nyos the only lake in Cameroon. It's Nyos the only lake that he could have tested it, is because he doesn't. Those people in Nyos, to him, don't mean much, because a lot of our people died. Thousands of our people died. Thousands and thousands of our people died. Now the question now is, are we going to forget about what happened in Nyos when the time comes? My answer is no. We are going to put Nyos alongside the atrocity crimes committed by Mr. Beer on the southern Cameroons and Ambazonia. Mr. Beer is responsible for the death of all those who died in Nyos. That is, I stopped there,
and that's
and
then
we're
yet. We're not going to forget about the massacres in Momo. We're not going to forget about Garbo. The reason I'm using this to lay foundation this evening is to give enough reason why Ambazonians must consider that every county must support the other. Why? We must, because you have sons from Momo, they are the ones fighting in Oroko village there, in Bakwere land. Some of them are everywhere. Like you get it. So it's very important. That same thing that provoked you to start fighting for your freedom is the same reason that should provoke you to support Momo tonight. So before we get to that, by Mbeseha, I cannot wait to get your opinion on this before we're going back into the newsroom, please.
Well, talking about Lake Nyos, there's so much we don't know, but there's enough that we know to come to our own conclusions. We know that for a fact, people died in Nyos. Where Nyos was found in Yimbe, found in Victoria, found in Bamenda, people died in their thousands. We know also a fact that it has been concluded. The story of government that it was some gas coming to the lake is a lie. It was some foreign government. And no foreign government will do it without the complicity of Yaoundé, done with the consent of the government of Mr. Paul Biya. And so that much that we know. I would conclude that all what that came in, foreign and domestic, because remember from my own place, they carried food there, was just to show, to pretend to show there was a disaster there. Because after all, the people died. My mother-in-law understood to that place. And then I asked them that time, I wasn't born then. Then everybody is dead. When I go carrying bags of cocoa yams and rice, therefore, there was no answer. The administration had to take it over and do what they wanted to do. And so it was all orchestrated. Then, of course, the story that it was some natural disaster from the lake, it just lie. Because if it had been something like that, if it had been something of that nature, where you expect a follow-up government, if a real government is a follow-up, as simple as putting some devices in that place to monitor the movement of gas coming out of that lake. 10 years after this, to monitor anything. And so it was just a lie. But then, you see, history is a lot to learn from. Conclusions are easy when you look at these stories. See what happened in 1986 in Nyos. I'm marrying it to our story. Dr. M talked about Gauka. Can we conclude something between 1986 and 2025? The Lake Nyos was a mass massacre of thousands of people, notwithstanding where they came from. It came 2 years after Goji Dinka launched the restoration of the 1984 law saying that they become Cameroon. Nobody believed Dinka. They started. The idea to distort the history and to stop Ambazonians from wherever talking about it had started. That was masked of people through some gas, some form of gas, or whatever thing you call it, where it was a bomb is some shot from, concentrated from. If we fast forward to 2025, beginning with 2017, 2018, and we see the mass killings that have taken place. You have just mentioned Garibu. You have mentioned places like Ikona. We have mentioned villages burnt left and right without any discrimination. Whoever lives in the village and they set fire on it, that was mass killing. That you see on great. Can we marry these facts and systems? See under Mr. Bobby, yeah? What put the final, according to him, concluded that the assimilation was over and Jinka was going to go. If Jinka had not had the opportunity to escape, he probably would be dead. And so I see this as a stated plan. They came from Paris or came from Israel or anywhere else. Those are their allies. They are their criminal allies. They are their political allies. They could not have come. They didn't know where Nyos was. They could not have come to Nyos. They could not have come to Bangwa or to Widekum unless the government permitted them and allowed them to go there. And so it is now you put one on one together, you can come to conclusions. And just fast forward again. We are talking this on the eve of drafting for Momo. Momo is not just those counties that are found there. No, Momo is, to me, Ambazonia. I live in Ikona. In fact, Ikona is in Fako. I knew Ikona when I was there as a teacher for 2 years. Ikona was known as the Momo people. They own the place they call Ikona, but that's in Fako. And so if hundreds, you see concentrated in Fako, in Ikona.
Yeah.
If people are dying in Ikona, if they have killed 100, for example, 80 of those people will be people from Momo.
Momo.
And so they were. And so it's not just the physical struggle of Momo. It is an extension of Ambazonia.
Yeah.
Momos, in general, call them Guzon people. Call them the Bamingis. In fact, we call Kadi in the corner people. They own it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so, if they're even sustaining the fight in most of those places, it is being sustained by children of Momo.
Momo.
So, again, that's where we are. That is Momo. That is Nyos.
Yeah.
Places about Nyos.
Yeah, and by Mbeseha, let me come in real quickly so that we can get some details of what is happening on the ground, and then come back and focus on Momo County alone, and just talk about what Choyaba and others infiltrators within Momo would have done. For the first time, when I just left the university, I went to Kombe because I had a friend whose father died in Kombe, the village after Mbanga. Every household in Kombe, Mbanga, just a few miles away from Douala. Kombe is made up of Ngi people. You go there, you see only Momo people. Without any exaggeration. That banana plantation that leads from Kombe into Douala, that it is Momo. Why am I bringing this up? To tell us how relevant Momo County is in this fight that we are waging against the Republic of Cameroon. They are not just everywhere. They have a particular grace in their effort that they're putting in this revolution. So now, I want us to look at something. Let's go on there are two things we do. We're finding out the reports, daily reports that happen on the ground, so that we can understand the war on the ground, what is happening now. I understand that Onye has prepared to remind us on some of the massacres, especially. We also find out what is happening around the world. Right after that, when we come back, we will now talk about it with what to do for the Momo County this night and we'll hand over the mic to those organizers. I will be transitioning because when they're done with that, we'll have a brief cultural representation. Let me look at music that's coming from Momo County. Once they're done with that, yeah, we'll bring that immediately. And as soon as we bring, we will get to our analysis. I can see the Momo jingle already ready.
The World Draft once more is coming to your county. Stand up and be counted. No greater victory was ever achieved than by greater sacrifices.
Let our fallen heroes and heroines guide and shield our men and women. Let their ultimate sacrifice be the reason we change the game and give our enemies what they have been giving us. Ambazonia needs to protect its people from the terrorist troops of La República Cameroon. The time is now to do just that.
You're enough. So let's draft, and draft. Our existence as a people depend on that.
It's time for Momo County.
During the week, diplomacy took center stage from high-stakes meetings at the White House, where European leaders joined discussions on the war in Ukraine, now entering its fourth year, to ongoing ceasefire talks between Israel and Hamas, and then taking your attention to the home front. This shifted to President Samuel Ikomesako's speech on diplomacy and the upcoming October elections in colonial French Cameroon, a move widely criticized by Ambazonians as misplaced in the face of the region's ongoing conflict and humanitarian crisis. Tonight, we take a global view of events shaping Africa's narrative. Are they casting the continent into a brighter light or deepening old shadows? Let's delve into the details. I am Tabitha Akro. Good evening and welcome to Flash News. Let's begin.
The World Draft once more is coming to your county. Stand up and be counted. No greater victory was ever achieved than by greater sacrifices.
Let our fallen heroes and heroines guide and shield our men and women. Let their ultimate sacrifice be the reason we change the game and give our enemies what they have been giving us. Ambazonia needs to protect its people from the terrorist troops of La República Cameroon. The time is now to do just that.
You're enough. So let's draft, and draft. Our existence as a people depend on that.
It's time for Momo County.
President Donald Trump has directed White House lawyers to review Smithsonian museums, arguing that their exhibits place too much emphasis on slavery and other painful parts of African American history instead of highlighting the nation's progress. In a post on his social media platform, President Trump said the Smithsonian was out of control, claiming the museums portray the United States as horrible and dwell excessively on how bad slavery was. He insisted the future exhibitions should highlight success and brightness as part of America's 250th anniversary. Let's take a listen.
The World Draft once more is coming to your county. Stand up and be counted. No greater victory was ever achieved than by greater sacrifices.
Let our fallen heroes and heroines guide and shield our men and women. Let their ultimate sacrifice be the reason we change the game and give our enemies what they have been giving us. Ambazonia needs to protect its people from the terrorist troops of La República Cameroon. The time is now to do just that.
You're enough. So let's draft, and draft. Our citizens of the people depend on that.
It's time for Momo County.
I'm deeply proud that we now have a museum that honors the millions of African American men and women who built our national heritage, especially when it comes to faith, culture, and the unbreakable American spirit.
Meanwhile, the Smithsonian Institution declined to comment on the review. The White House confirmed that the assessment will cover 8 major museums, including the National Museum of African American History and Culture, the National Museum of American History, and the National Museum of the American India. A letter sent to Smithsonian Secretary Lonnie Barnes said the review seeks to ensure the museums reflect the unity, progress, and enduring values that define the American story. President Trump's latest stance contrasts with his 2017 visit to the African American History and Culture Museum, where he praised the institution as incredible and honored figures such as Harriet Tubman and Frederick Douglass. At a time, he called the museum a reminder of the need to confront bigotry and intolerance. Let's take a listen.
Well, we want the museums to treat our country fairly. We want the museums to talk about the history of our country in a fair manner, not in a woke manner or in a racist manner, which is what many of them, not all of them, but many of them are doing. Our museums have an obligation to represent what happened in our country over the years, good and bad, but what happened over the years in an accurate way.
The review follows Trump's March executive order directing Vice President J.D. Vance and Interior Secretary Doug Burgum to remove improper ideology from Smithsonian operations. The move has sparked debate over whether efforts to reshape museum narratives risks downplaying the brutality of slavery and its lasting impact on the American society. Analysts warn that revising how slavery is presented could raise questions about whether the administration is attempting to rewrite history in favor of political ideology. What would it mean for Americans' global image if the realities of slavery and systemic racism are minimized in national institutions? Think about that. And how might this shift affect African Americans and other communities whose histories are tied to those struggles? Let's take a listen.
I remember you saying the same thing to the classroom, that we need to be responsible for documenting and teaching our history because, and there were a few reasons, but a couple that stand out in my mind. We are the best positioned to do so.
Certainly.
And the other is that history has shown us time and again that there is often a concerted effort to bury our accomplishments or to otherwise rewrite the story surrounding the narratives that relate to us.
The citizens of the world know what's happening here in the United States, formerly the so-called beacon of democracy. It don't look like that now. You know, you got to choose countries or people, individuals by their actions. And I don't think that the actors now in this administration show that doesn't look like the beacon of democracy to me.
That someone, says something like that, is downright offensive. And to a great extent, I think it's evil.
It's very painful. And I think a lot of trauma because the United States has spent a lot of time covering up the history.
A lot of persons right there reacting to President Trump's order. But then we see that President Trump's recent moves in Africa from visa allocation and migration to reefs establishes the need for Africa to focus on rebuilding its own broken bridges and reclaim its over-dependence on global powers. But then, let's take your attention now to the Ambazonian struggle. What does this exemplify about creating a template and a masterpiece that tells the struggle of the people in the Ambazonian fallen heroes? We see that the targeting of the National Museum of African Art raises wider questions. If exhibits on colonialism, racial injustice, and African history are dismissed as anti-American. What does that mean for Africa's cultural voice in global institutions? Does erasing these narratives silence the painful but real legacies of slavery and colonization that connect Africa and America? That's a critical report right there. But then we are still in Africa, giving you this idea with the narratives you get to see. And there's this disturbing report we got from Kenya. Kenyan authorities have uncovered 5 bodies in shallow grave just 2 kilometers from Shakahola Forest, the site of one of the country's deadliest court tragedies 2 years ago. The discovery in Kwabinzaro, Kilifi County, has reignited fears that extremist religious practices still have a grip on vulnerable communities. Forensic teams, homicide detectives, and pathologists began the exhumation this week. Alongside the bodies, investigators found 10 scattered human remains in nearby thickets. Officials confirmed that at least 27 more suspected mass graves have been identified in the area, suggesting that the true scale of the tragedy may only be starting to even emerge. The new graves lie just 1.5 miles from the site where more than 400 people were discovered in 2023, victims of court leader Paul Mackenzie, who convinced followers to starve themselves and their children to death in the belief that they would meet Jesus. Mackenzie remains in custody, facing murder charges. Let's take a listen.
Authorities in Kenya have unearthed 5 more corpses from shallow graves in coastal Kilifi County, reviving memories of a horrific doomsday cult. Government pathologist Dr. Richard Njoroge on Thursday said 10 human body parts were also found scattered in nearby thickets in the Kwabinzaro area of Kilifi County, approximately 2 kilometers from Shakahola cult site, and that the exhumation process will resume on Friday. Investigators have identified 27 more suspected mass graves, raising fears of many more victims.
We see that the proximity of the new graves raises pressing questions. Is this evidence of an extension of Mackenzie's movement, or are new groups replicating his deadly ideology? Why has the state struggled to contain such radical teachings despite widespread national and global outrage following the first massacre? Police have arrested 11 individuals believed to be linked to Mackenzie's former network. Though no formal charges have been filed, investigators are examining whether these suspects were operating independently or as part of a broader court resurgence. We see that the arrest highlights a troubling reality. Even after the dismantling of Mackenzie's church, the lure of dangerous doctrines persists. What drives individuals to embrace such fatal beliefs, even in the shadow of a mass tragedy? Right there on your screen, a view of the situation. The repeated discovery of mass graves in Kilifi County has triggered fresh debate about the regulation of religious institutions. Kenya, with its deeply religious population and thousands of churches, faces a delicate balancing act protecting freedom of worship while shielding citizens from predatory leaders. Critics argue that gaps in oversight allow courts to thrive under the guise of legitimate faith. Others caution that heavy-handed regulation could infringe on constitutionally protected freedoms. How can Kenya strike a balance between preserving religious liberty and safeguarding human life? And how can these be also looked into in Africa? Meanwhile, exhumations are set to continue, with authorities bracing for a potentially higher death toll. For a nation still haunted by Shakahola, the discoveries are a grim reminder that unresolved dangers remain beneath the surface, both literally and socially. As the shallow soil of coastal Kenya reveals more bodies, the deeper questions remain: will this tragedy finally compel lasting reforms, or will history repeat itself yet again? This is where we'll be ending it at the global news and then moving over to breaking news and reports happening from the home front.
The World Draft once more is coming to your county. Stand up and be counted. No greater victory was ever achieved than by greater sacrifices.
Let our fallen heroes and heroines guide and shield our men and women. Let their ultimate sacrifice be the reason we change the game and give our enemies what they have been giving us. Ambazonia needs to protect its people from the terrorist troops of La Republic du Cameroon. The time is now to do just that.
You're enough. So let's draft, and draft. Our existence as a people depend on that.
It's time for Momo County.
Manamo. Bamata. Ti kerasineta na orangu. Ti ba kerasineta wangu. Mbagir wumna matuzi burka werin banyat. Mbagir chuba mina barabat. Menemo, asasana manyu matana ngubra tongo. Aya wuzene ngwene zeba jenga bongo. Abinga gume chenka ba nya enjo. Ka enje maye kumami wa tongo. Azwa kung aya soze wa cho. Ngwene zara gu atamba brangra ze funga tuwa mandega wa cho. Fako. Yezangene jiga gawa. Oh, wamata. Ninga gazo che tu umenyivri nyere. Zwetiyen chenono choso kwavu komkner sakor mambia makaze matem nur roba wado tieze afagara gwe kumbanga trosa chita ba wu makakomba ba wu ba mugwe nanjirambeng ba yenda ne sote tuza wanga bana bea omba mami baba buramba mabena ni afebe mare nang forme kasarame kukwa ban febe Agunda sine burfu kerabo manivre gwa fo nang chwena jimne ay chichi awafa aduma ajuju zabazu izu ubana tongne azizi gunda burfu kuyato chichi ni yen bamazu gwa tumbe bo forugumbe gara nyombanga tuwaza to girite genga wa yende kona basa pena bazima nasifa fini agana sira che winne ngwan fa bazui Gwega mochi wit, agana sira chup zoba chichi mbanzi. Wangni ye jang ye wuzu mbrisi. Azera mambu una mwana zeba sa chinge. Mbankono ni kana fima zeba chia. Tuwana baza chwa. Manipsa suisu nga nabwa girita ka. Ngwen fa be ewa wasabara njirige. Ayawa wenoka kaba siga wanjirige. Tuwaza panda akaye kombambeng. Amano awazuru ngari banbeng. Chiga awa karangom kabuni ingom nutinga uniform chibiko chia tutrush akaba sap song tanu asoba I'm a sobo sofi chimini ba benjim nenga jakwa achiraza king I'm a sonyota mengne mama nang ma achu sayanda kopa asama samwa to manipsa tinanga afaninga ambot kwa abata fengne be finga be bor krona anini ben aten frang na zona chok Kenneth baba woman awuro banda tumba changut manamo bagre chuba mina borabot
Fellow Ambazonians, This Saturday, August 23rd, 2025, is Momo County Draft, and the time is 8 p.m. Ambazonia time. My good people, friends, and the leadership of the 5 local government areas, including Momo County, my people from Mogamo, from Menemo, from Gi, Njikwa, Widikum local government areas. We all know Momo is a battleground county. External spoilers have tried to weaken our hand on the ground, but our genuine forces, working together with some of our people at home and abroad, have severely degraded the enemy's presence and activities as we know it. However, this is an opportunity for us to consolidate and unite. Let us rise above divisions and the politics of personal glory. The real question is and should be, who takes the glory, Ambazonia or La République du Cameroon? Our determined and valiant Ambazonia State Armed Forces in Momo are waiting for our leadership, our substance, our coordination, and our sacrifices. Let us arise from the dust, stand together as one county, and make Momo great again. All roads lead to the draft on Saturday, August 23rd at 8 p.m. Amazonia time. Come forward, draft for Momo, stand for Ambazonia. Victory is certain if we stand as one man. Thank you.
As Momo drafts today, we would want to take a look at some of the massacres and worsening atrocities across Momo and Ambazonia in general. In the village of Momo, located in the Midland zone of Ambazonia, a brutal military assault took place on the 10th of January 2021. It left at least 9 civilians dead, including a child and a 50-year-old woman. Witnesses recounted how over 50 soldiers from the 21st Motorized Infantry Battalion entered the village of Momo, shooting indiscriminately as terrified residents fled. The soldiers reportedly looted homes. They also beat up civilians and threatened villagers, accusing them of harboring separatist fighters. Despite international outrage and calls for an impartial investigation, the French Cameroonian military has consistently denied targeting civilians, labeling them as terrorists without any evidence. We'll pause here and ask, how do you just shoot everyone? And how is everyone in Ambazonia terrorist? Anyways, the village has nearly become deserted, with most residents fleeing into the surrounding bushes or nearby towns. The Momo massacre was not an isolated incident, but rather part of a grim pattern of violence in Ambazonia, where over 60,000 lives have been lost so far since the conflict escalated in 2016. Human rights organizations have documented a disturbing record of abuses, but both government forces and unknown gunmen all doing their thing in Ambazonia. Still on Momo, on November 24, 2021, at least 21 civilians were killed across southern Cameroon in a series of violent crackdowns by French Cameroon soldiers, with support linked to France, of course. Amongst the victims was an unarmed man whose pregnant wife and toddler witnessed the tragic aftermath. The soldiers reportedly ransacked homes in their village, found no incriminating evidence, yet still took him away before executing him nearby. The violence extended beyond private homes. In Ekondo City, a school became the site of more killings, where more than 4 students and a teacher lost their lives. These incidents reflect the growing brutality of the Cameroonian and Ambazonian crisis, where State forces have been accused of carrying out extrajudicial killings, and they have actually been doing so, not just being accused, and other human rights violations against civilians in Ambazonia and the entire English-speaking areas of Ambazonia. In 2020, government forces were implicated in the killings of 21 civilians in Gabor, including children and, of course, pregnant women. More recently, in 2023, a Bakov village in the Midland zone of Momo County was the scene of another atrocity where over 30 civilians were massacred in a similarly brutal military operation. The county has remained tense and unstable. Earlier this year, a money transfer agent was shot and killed right in front of his shop. This, of course, underscores the ongoing threats to civilian lives all over. These repeated attacks and the lack of accountability have left communities across Momo and the wider Ambazonian areas trapped in fear and despair. The military heavy-handedness approach, which often conflicts with unarmed villagers, of course with unknown gunmen and those they tag as separatist fighters, continues to push some towards radicalization and insurgency. As the crisis deepens, there is growing urgency for international actors, including the UN, the African Union, to intervene more decisively to ensure justice for civilians, protection especially for civilians, and a path to genuine political dialogue to end the war. Away from all of these massacres, if we delve into insecurity, you'll see how bad civilians have been faring. A civilian from Bali Younger, identified as Mr. Boba, was killed by a group of individuals claiming to be Ambazonian fighters. We all know Ambazonian fighters do not kill themselves or do not kill the people they protect. They did this in an ambush on a bus at Bambui on the road to Kom. The deceased was reportedly traveling to visit his pregnant wife when he was caught in the attack. This incident has heightened fears amongst residents who live in constant dread. Witnesses reported that the armed individuals attacked travelers, and they've been doing so, seizing monies, phones, and lately 3 vehicles in an operation that lasted approximately 90 minutes, causing significant traffic disruption. Following the ambush, Mr. Boba was abducted and several others tortured. Despite his family paying a ransom of approximately 1 million francs CFA, he succumbed to his injuries. Victims noted that the perpetrators primarily communicated in the Nsoh language. Is that possible? But then, that is how they transfer this. The incident highlights the volatile situation in the Savannah, Midland, and Atlantic zones of Ambazonia, a result of the ongoing war declared by the French Cameroon. Because you would ask here, where are the military? Can they protect at this point? Oh well, this war, which started as a peaceful protest by Ambazonian lawyers and teachers in 2016 against the marginalization of their legal and educational system, was met with a violent crackdown by the colonial government. This has since escalated into full-blown war, and all of these atrocities is what we have been seeing. The occupational government's failure to address the root causes has left the population to suffer and live in constant fear, as such incidents of violence and kidnappings for ransoms are recurrent. It has become a daily affair. The lack of safety on major routes like the Kom routes leaves residents grieving and grappling with the challenges of living in a war-hit area. Still talking about routes, let's get into the Bamenda routes. Now, following extensive pressure from ABC's outlets, for 2 weeks, myself and Barrister Mbeseha, we've constantly talked about the routes. Well, the colonial government has become what it terms the C2D, I beg your pardon, C2D Urban Regional Capitals Project, to address the severe degraded road networks in Ambazonia Midland Zone? Well, according to French Cameroon, the said initiatives, which includes road rehabilitation and drainage construction, aims to modernize a city's infrastructure that has long been neglected, a reality felt acutely by a population enduring the consequences of the ongoing 8-year-long war. The question is, why now? Elections are around the corner. How possible? How feasible? Anyways, for years, the porous roads of the Bamenda have been a source of public frustration and a physical symbol of the infrastructure disparity between the colonizers, Francophone region, and of course, Ambazonia. While cities in neighboring French Cameroon have benefited from sustained urban development, major towns in the Midland and Atlantic zones of Ambazonia have seen their roads deteriorate, a situation exacerbated by the ongoing war that has left essential services in a state of despair. The lack of proper road networks has hindered the movement of people and goods as well, and this has directly impacted the local community and economy and made daily life more difficult. For instance, already suffering from persistent violence and instability. The Colonial Ministry of Urban Development reports that the project will modernize the entire network. It claims rebuilding work is underway in several key areas, including the stretch from the Veterinary Junction to Cow Street, Paco Viter, and the City Council. The upstation from the Avena entrance to the prison and the monument is also allegedly under construction. There are rumors of new drainage pipes being installed and grounds being leveled, of course, rumors. While the occupational government states this project is a step towards a more comfortable and efficient urban environment, many residents view it as a long overdue response to years of neglect. While French Cameroons expects that this current major effort offer a glimpse of hope for improved living conditions, Amazonians can only be reminded of how the war this government declared has contributed to the neglect of vital infrastructure and forced the innocent population to navigate not just violence, but also the physical decay of their surroundings. Well, we had so many other reports, but because of time and the drafts in view, we decided to just speak on this very few. And I'm sure that as sad as all of these reports are, you all can still find a way to give succor to Ambazonians in their home front. Mr. Cha, do you agree?
Thank you very much, Onye. Thank you very much, Tabitha. Thank you very much, Tasmat. Professor Ayim, Commander Kenneth, the barristers. You see that we targeted what is now. It's time for us to talk. There is so much for us to talk. We need to be strategic and take it from there. I know the two reps from Momo County are eager to present to us this evening a project for Momo County. But then you see, if you notice, we are trying to give Ambazonians reason why that project you want to present this evening for donation is even important. And I'm happy, I'm so very excited that I have you here, Professor Ayim. Part of this war is psychological, is historical. That was why you saw Tabitha there chose to talk about the grievances of Trump, questioning the way a museum is narrating their story. As we speak right now, Cameroon is not even willing to accept our own history because they know that justifies our reason for fighting. Please, that's where I want you to, that's the first thing I want you to cue on. And then I'll come to you, Commander Kenneth. You have seen the insecurity on the ground. So when we get to that point, I'll get to you. But Professor Ayim, Momo people would want to know how relevant this history is and how legal it is and why we have to stand for it. If America, that's in a good place today, is questioning people's narrative of their story, Cameroon is even beating us and locking us up because people like you write history books to tell us the truth. Please talk to us, Professor Ayim.
Yes, Paddy, thank you very much. Greetings, all Ambazonians listening to me. Today is Momo draft, and I will take this opportunity to tell you all why we should draft for Momo today massively. It is a responsibility for us to make the great county of Momo great, because Momo County has been supportive of all other counties. Everything in Ambazonia, Momo is right there at the forefront. Financially, by way of advice, etc., Momo is there. And today is Momo's day. So it's a call for all of us to rally and give Momo the boost for the new era that Momo is entering into. You will be excited. Give us the support that we need. Momo people are everywhere in the southern Cameroon, Ambazonia. Everywhere. Momo people as the agriculture, they like to use their hands, they're intelligent, they like to connect hands and the land to make things happen. They grow cocoa, grow this, etc. Everywhere there's a Momo person, there is a change. There is leadership change. There is awareness of that community. That is Momo. That is Momo. And it is, and His Royal Highness, the fount of Widikum, His Royal Highness von Gojite Dinka, who gave us our name that we are having now. He foresaw this long ago. That's Momo. All right? Working with Chief Ewusi, they coined the name Ambazonia way in the mid-80s. So Momo is great. And right now, you have Momo songs as a prisoner of conscience. There is Patasan stays a leader. And so you will see Momo is really in this struggle for the long haul. And so it is my appeal to everybody listening to me that you all come out in the next hour or so massively. Let's draft for Momo. You know, talking about the history, Momo is involved everywhere. Look at far back, the leaders of Southern Cameroons. You see that Momo has a whole line of them, starting from Leda Bendong to Pamuna, talking to you know, and up to now. So Momo is providing leadership. And to straighten out the history, Momo defends the history of the Southern Cameroons and Amazonia by all means. And so even if you are from Momo, a son of Momo, and you're running for politics in La République du Cameroon, that is on you. That is not Momo spirit. We say in Momo, no. And so let us all rally our people, those of you listening to me and those to come. Call your friends, call here and there. Yes, let's make the great county of Momo great again. Thank you very much.
Let's come together and make the great county of Momo great again. Commander Kenneth, you will talk a little bit about these massacres and what you are doing, the rationale between the restructuring and how we've been able to manage the infiltration that happened in Momo County prior to this time. And that's what has caused a lot of loss from Commando, from the Guzang incident, and so on and so forth. Commander Kenneth, please.
Yeah, thank you once more, Director Padi. And I want to welcome all those watching us from the home front and abroad, those who have come in to support Momo County. It is my plea that please, you put your hands deep into your pockets, help us in whatever endeavors, whatever we are trying to do today in Momo. Looking at the issue, talking about the issue of insecurities in Momo, the massacres and so on, I want to make it clear that apart from the fact that Momo was one of those counties that initially took the bull by the horns, it started this struggle in a very good footing. We have so many great fighters in Momo. We look at people like the Commandos, Bravo, and so on. Momo was very active. Let's not forget, Momo was one of those counties that, took a La Republic colonial administrator, and he has never been seen up to this particular day. Momo was so hot. With that in mind, La Republic went on its drawing board, they re-strategized and looked at how to dismantle Momo. And they did it in such a way that, they look at some of those fighters. Initially it was difficult for them to infiltrate Momo because we had a very, very powerful force in Momo. But with time, as we say sometimes, things went down a little. And let me talk also about the civilians and the massacres we had. Our people were very, very cooperative with the fighters we had on the ground. So it was difficult for La Republic to infiltrate even our civilians. So when they found it difficult to come in and get information or on how to get to those fighters, because they knew that, the Momo man believes in our struggle. We talk to them on a daily basis. They're like, please, we really want to get out of this union with these people. So when they see that there is no inroad, they cannot make inroads into getting to some of the fighters, what their next step is, they come in to kill their civilians in their numbers. That was the reason why we've been seeing them going here and they're killing innocent people, people who have nothing to do. People who have nothing to do exactly. They have nothing to do with maybe carrying arms or carrying anything. They just come in because they cannot infiltrate the society. They just come in and kill and handle. Our people have suffered. They've suffered a lot. And let me quote what Prof just said. We've been out there. We've helped other counties, even when we've been down. We have not forgotten the other counties, those that have been active. We've been giving them that support. And not only that, we have sons and daughters of Momo who are in other counties fighting. Go to Meme, go to Dian, go to Fako, you find them there. I also happen to be the spokesperson for the Defense Department. There are times I talk to fighters in other regions, and I'm surprised when they tell me, I'm originally from Momo. Some of them tell you I'm originally from Momo, which means Momo is carrying this fight all over Ambazonia. We've been fighting in all the counties, most of the counties in Ambazonia. So that's the more reason, why. And excuse me, when I get to fighters like that, and sometimes they cry for help, there are times that we fall back to some of our people in the LGAs. We ask them to give them maybe something little to help them with whatever they're doing. And when we do that, we are doing that for the whole of Ambazonia. We've been there. We support everybody. We support all the counties. We support the fighters. Even some of them, we do it behind the scenes. There have been fighters that we've talked to them and supported them behind the scenes. So it is time for us to also see to it that, the forces that we have on the ground right now, because there are some of them, they lack materials. Those that are standing up right now, as I said, that we are trying to restructure, bring them together under one umbrella. There are some of those things that they still lack that we need to re-equip them. Now, it's we understand that there are counties that are very, very active, but we have to make sure that we, at our own level in Momo, will wake up again and get the glory, reclaim the glory we once had. We are looking at that point of bringing Momo back to that level we had prior to maybe some years back. And there are some of those. Let me also make it clear here that when La Republic saw to it that they could not so much infiltrate Momo, they brought in some of their gangsters pretending to be Ambas. We saw some of them in the name of the ADF. Some of them were people that they released from some of their prisons and they indoctrinate them, send them in to come and cause havoc in Momo. And when they were doing that, they had a lot of resources to arm some of these people to go after some of the genuine fighters that we had. And not only that, they instructed some of them to cause havoc. Some we had seen some time back in Momo. like some of the killings and so on that some of those their agents were doing, or their collaborators, those that were doing that. So with that, and the constant infiltration of their military people in their places, some of our fighters, there are some that withdrew because they could not go against their own brothers. But with what is happening right now, we are seeing a place whereby some of those that were there, they are fizzling out. They're fizzling out. They're getting out of the fight. And there are some that, when we talk to, some have reached out to us and they're telling us, look, we started this fight. We are coming back to continue this fight. We need those materials. We need materials. We need this. We need that to come back and continue the fight, because those that came in and they were trying to distract the fight, those that were sent in by the government, they are gradually being phased out. They are fizzling out. Will come and continue from where this fight, where we ended, where we left it. We'll take it from there and go ahead. We'll make Momo. They feel nostalgic about the issues, what they used to, how the Momo they used to have, the force they used to have there. So they are like, we are coming back, and we'll come back and take Momo back to its level where it was before. So I think looking at all these points, we should be able to stand up and, not only help those that are right there at this moment in time, but we know that in the days ahead, there will be other forces that will be joining these, the forces that we have there. They are all over. We talk to them. I will not give specifications of where they are, but they are all over. They reach to us. And as just like yesterday, there was one that reached across to me, telling me that we have to make sure that Momo rises again. And he's a very serious fighter. We are looking to those people to come back and continue the fight. So we should be rest assured, in the days ahead, Momo will be rising again. Thank you, Dr. Fadi.
Yeah, amazing, Commander Kenneth and Professor Ayim. I think the need for all Ambazonians to come together and to draft for Momo can never be overemphasized. But this is where I want the lawyers to come in, because I don't want it to sound like a sounding symbol. We are here this evening because we want to always create Ambazonians really need to come together, not just because Momo has contributed, but why should Ambazonians continue to fight this war? If you look at the reports that Onye brought in there, it was strategic. As the daily activity by the occupier, that gives us more than enough reason why we must draft for every county. People are not only dying every day. Every policy on the ground is well tailored to enslave us. And that's where I would like to bring you in, Barrister Fru, as you comment on some of the stories you heard earlier on. Please talk to us. The massacres, the atrocities, the insecurity, the targeted killings, and so on and so forth. Yeah, Professor Ayim, you want to say something?
Yes, I just want to chip in in line with what Comrade Kenneth has said, because this is what is going to motivate people to do Momo. I want to assure Ambazonians listening to us today that the Momo of yesterday, the Momo of today, is different from upcoming Momo. We're going to come into that. Realized that you can't do the same.
Professor Ayim, I will come into that at the peak of this tonight, so that people enjoy it. The leadership of Momo and how we're going to avoid the massacres and infiltration. That is well structured. We'll come to that. Like I said, Momo, it's Momo's day and Momo has the floor. So we are strategically inspiring Ambazonians to the point where you will tell us if Ambazonians can trust this current leadership in Momo. We'll come to that. Mr. Fru, please.
Yes, Paddy. Momo arguably is the bedrock of this revolution.
Yeah.
Momo has fighters beginning from Momo itself, Mezam, going down to right down to the Atlantic, and more especially in Dian, You know, if I tell you, Paddy, that 10 kobo was for Momo, you will not believe me, but that is exactly correct. He was a great leader, and connivance got him out of the way. He's now dead. We don't know whatever happened to him. But Momo has left his print on this revolution. We must recognize that. Secondly, I'm one of those who believe that Ambazonian counties cannot fight all at once or in everywhere fighting. Momo, you have had your own rest for some time. It is time for you to come back, and we are going to support you to come back. Momo, when Momo was what Momo was, in spite of the atrocities of Ayabacho and others, Momo was waxing strong. Financially, you can see Momo, our Momo comrades are very, very powerful when it comes to raising money. Therefore, Momo is the backrock of the revolution. Having said that, I would rather caution our people not to go back to what Momo had been before today. We have seen a lot of betrayals. We have seen a lot of people. Just of recently, a certain Senator Ekwe, or they call him what in Widikum, was purportedly bringing young people, our fighters, to bring their guns and hand over to him in Widikum. That we hope that when we put the Momo where it was before, it will never again take place. Momo will not cafe there up, but I must caution that Momo people should continue to do what they do best. Stand behind Ambazonia. From Victoria to Nkambe, Momo, at least Momo is present. Momo does what it does well when its back is to the wall. So let us, Ambazonians, get together and put Momo back where it was at the beginning of this revolution. Momo has paid a heavy price. General Ivo, whom Ayabacho assassinated, the various generals that were assassinated in Guzang, Biabia and his friends, and all the others, some even buried alive in Momo. Momo has seen it all. Momo has suffered it all. But we must resuscitate Momo. Let Momo come back where it was. I wish I can say the same thing about Mezam, but Momo, stand up again and be counted. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Mezam 2 is coming. I think I like what you said there. Barrister, please.
Well, this is more. We know the long people are great fighters, who are historians, who are lawyers. They're everything that we can imagine. But again, Momo has his own fair share of detractors. A big fair share of detractors. Good enough, we take the promise. Momo of today is not going to be more, same day Momo. But we must draft Momo. And as we draft Momo, there are incidences or things that we have to take that must encourage us. They're not all bound to be positive. Even some negative things should encourage us to draft. Again, from historical documents since 1961, nowhere in Ambazonia have we witnessed a pop. It happened in Momo. The Guzang public execution of our own children are things that should be every human being. Because nowhere in Ambazonia shall an Ambazonian be executed without due. It happened in Guzang, publicly done. We all come from individual communities, mostly villages, of chiefs or farms. But the basic community of Ambazonia is. We respect them and we respect those institutions. It is that they killed the Prince of Kurowe and destroyed the palace. That should never happen again. That's the reason why we say we must have Momo. So Momo of today must be different from the Momo of yesterday. Why? Why we ask? These things that we just mentioned, be it in Guzang market, be it in Kurowe, did not happen alone. They happen with the active complicity of a few people there, pretending to be our own people. They are still there. Going forward, we only urge the new Momo executive to take note of those things. We shall not let the blood of Ambazonians go in vain. And we took a solemn promise. No blood of Ambazonians shall be shed by a fellow Ambazonian, be it in the pretext of fighting them or in the pretext of making personal. And so we hope that going forward from Momo and to the entire Amazonia, this nonsense, where they come in all pseudonym in Ambazonia, that will take the life of our own children, that will destroy our own institutions for personal gain, for political emotions, shall stop. We must draft if it means giving out the last penny, because if it stops in Momo, where most of it started, we will stop throughout Ambazonia. And Momo said here a few minutes ago, I hate memoirs. But for the Momo people, for example, the SDF would not have survived in Fako in the early 90s.
Correct.
They are the ones who took out the mayor of Moyoka, did that. They did all that. They were fighting for, at the time, for a political party they trusted in, they believed in. The SDA would not have been what it was before it started dying, but for people like Banda, these are people from Momo. But in every society we have bad eggs and good eggs. But good shall always prevail over
bad
things. Again, to conclude, in the first segment, this segment, somebody put out the history of Donald Trump, trying to rewrite the story of slavery. The story of Ambazonia shall never be rewritten to these politicians. Maybe people didn't know is that the slavery officially ended in America in 1865, more than 100 years before Trump was born. He's trying to redo the history today, unliking to the Americans. But the history of Ambazonia in Cameroon or in Africa shall never be rewritten by some strangers, by some foreigners in politics, some gangsters in whatever thing they want to do. And so that's the thing I get from the slave trade, whatever thing that Mr. Trump is trying to do. The Vance, his vice president, is not even out to my son. And then, of course,
but Mbeseha, just listening to you, I remember what Chimamanda was saying, and a video I shared, I think 2 days ago on my Facebook page. He was talking about how the colonialists, the slave masters, they always want to narrate the history in a way that erases the facts. And that's exactly what is happening in Ambazonia today. We have Professor Ayim here, who is also a history writer. He has books about the Southern Cameroons. And I think it's an important conversation to have him on board. So as we're moving forward to where Momo was, Momo has been wanting to tell Ambazonia, say, listen, Momo today is not Momo yesterday. It's not Momo after yesterday. We have evolved, we have understood the errors, we are restructuring, we are doing some things. But truth be told, and the truth that should be told is that Momo has been very instrumental in our struggle from time immemorial.
Yep.
Momo is critically evolved. But another side of the truth that we must not erase so that we learn some lessons is that a lot of catastrophe in the entire structure of the government and of the struggle has also come from Momo. And that's why it's a challenge for the Momo leader to tell the people of Amazonia how they have learned from it and how they intend to create structures that will avoid it.
Correct.
At least I want to think about the good more this evening. I want to think about the House Speaker. I want to think about Ma'am Midred. All of them are from Menemo. I want to think about Professor Ayim. I want to think about Commander Kenneth that is seated here. I want to think about Ma Vicky of GPR. At least good people from Momo. And I like Ambazonians to think about these ones as a way of not erasing the mistakes made, but like Barrister Mbeseha says, that good should triumph over evil. And we are transitioning into this segment by telling you a story of a great man that has shaken not just the world, but has changed single-handedly at a time that very few people believed what he was talking about. He was beaten like Ambazonians are being beaten today. He was detained like Ambazonians detained today. Today we have many more Ambazonians. The world is much more aware. He came at a time when they thought we were fools. They had put an education to tell us something else, to brainwash us, because that's part of what imperialists and colonialists do. They give you the wrong education. This man interpreted the history and brought a narrative that's unmatched in law and told Cameroon, listen, if you want to talk about separation, you are the separatist. We're talking about His Excellency or His Royal Highness Von Goji Dinka. Stasman has a beautiful collection of him that I want to bring up right now. Right after that, the Momo officials here will tell us what Momo has planned, how they have restructured, and why Ambazonians must trust them or their leadership as we move forward. Stay tuned.
The War Draft once more is coming to your county. Stand up and be counted. No greater victory was ever achieved than by greater sacrifices.
Let our fallen heroes and heroines guide and shield our men and women. Let their ultimate sacrifice be the reason we change the game and give our enemies what they have been giving us. Ambazonia needs to protect its people from the terrorist troops of La République du Cameroon. The time is now to do just that.
You're enough. So let's draft, and draft. Our existence as a people depend on that.
It's time for Momo County.
Momo County, nestled in the heart of the former British Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia, is indeed a land of proud heritage and vibrant traditions. Its people, chiefly from the Wimbo, Inji, Widikum, Batibo, Mbengui, and Njikwa communities, local government areas, are known for their resilience, strong kingship bond, and attachment to ancestral institutions. We see the traditional rulers, the fons and chiefs who remain influential, blending pre-colonial governance with modern political aspirations. This cultural framework has shaped Momo into a county deeply tied to justice, honor, and collective identity. And taking a look at the economic life of Momo County, we see that agriculture is the backbone of Momo's economy. The county is fertile with cocoa, coffee, palm, plantains, and cassava, feeding households and sustaining trade. Now, despite decades of neglect and poor infrastructure, Momo has remained a food basket for neighboring counties and beyond. Informal trade, craftsmanship, and migration also define its economic rhythms, while diaspora remittance continue to inject resilience into families and local projects. Now, for the touristic and geographic richness, from the lush valleys of Bachibo to the rolling highlands of Mbengui and the waterfalls tucked within Widukum, Momo is endowed with breathtaking landscapes. Its geographic diversity makes it a hidden jewel for tourism and an attraction yet to be fully realized due to the political instability and underdevelopment. But then the county's location also gives it historical importance as a crossroad of trade and cultural exchange within the grass field. Taking a look at the historical and political significance of the county, Momo County has not only nurtured communities and local government areas, but has also birthed towering figures of resistance and advocacy. From the SCNC activists such as Thomas Wanchan and Philip Tete to its traditional rulers who bore the weight of communal defense, Momo has been a constant voice in the Southern Cameroon's question. Now, yet towering above them all is one of Africa's most audacious legal and political minds, Fru John Dinka Fogum. Now, we see Momo's icon of Ambazonia liberation, Fru John Dinka, among the constellation of leaders who gave voice to the Southern Cameroon's plight. Fru John Dinka stands tallest, an intellectual, a lawyer, a traditional ruler, and above all, a visionary. Widely hailed as the father of Ambazonia, his contributions transcend Momo County and resonate across the entire movement for freedom. We see his legal career and traditional authority. He was called to the bar in the 1960s as one of the very first Southern Cameroonian barristers. Dinka's brilliance soon carried him to the presidency of the Cameroon Bar Association, yet he was not only a legal mind. As Fon of Widukum, he embodied both the spiritual and cultural authority of his people. This unique dual identity gave his political voice real legitimacy. He spoke not only with the reason of a lawyer, but with the ancestral weight of a ruler. In the early 1980s, as the union between Southern Cameroon and La République du Cameroun began to unravel, Fru John Dinka emerged as the boldest critic of Yaoundé's betrayal. He argued that the 1961 union was illegitimate, violated by unilateral constitutional changes, annexationist policies, and the suppression of the Southern Cameroon's rights. His genuine thoughts towards this brought to light. He was a genius who was to recognize that a people cannot exist without a name. And out of the waters of Amber's Bay, he coined the name Ambazonia, a single unifying identity for a territory too often referred to with cumbersome colonial titles, such as the United Nations trusteeship of the former British Southern Cameroons. Or Fru John Dinka naming was an act of emancipation. It crystallized a people's right to exist and to seek a freedom. Fru John Dinka's defining intellectual legacy came through his 1985 manifesto, The New Social Order. And in this bold document, The New Social Order, he denounced the annexation of Southern Cameroon, declared the restoration of independence under the name Republic of Ambazonia, provided a constitutional and international law framework to legitimize the quest for self-determination. Now, the manifesto was more than protest. It was a blueprint for sovereignty. And unsurprisingly, it triggered state repression. Dinka was arrested, detained, and later forced into exile, where he continued his struggle with pen, law, and diplomacy. Now, even from abroad, Fru John Dinka remained relentless. He saw clearly that Paul Biya's 1984 decree restoring La République du Cameroun as the state's name was a silent cessation by Yaoundé from the federal arrangement. This Dinka argued left southern Cameroons free to reclaim its sovereignty. His international legal training in America gave him the authority to interpret the constitutional blunder with unmatched clarity. Though his voice was overshadowed in the 1990s by populist politicians like John Frundi, Dinka's rational legal arguments remain the bedrock of the movement, the Ambazonian struggle for liberation. Today, every Ambazonian political formation, from the SENC to the interim government, draws legitimacy from the legal and ideological architecture that he built. Now, he is seen as the father of Ambazonia. His enduring legacy is not merely in his titles, but in his vision, because he gave the people a name, Ambazonia. He gave the cause a legal case. He gave the movement a future. From Momo County's hill, his voice traveled to international courtrooms and into the consciousness of a people yearning for freedom. To this day, Fon Gorji Dinka is remembered not just as Momo's son, but as the founding father of Ambazonia. Momo County, one of the cornerstone territories of Ambazonia, is a land rich in cultural heritage, anthropological diversity, economic potential, and holds the father of Ambazonia. From its fertile farmlands and vibrant markets to its untapped touristic attractions, Momo embodies both the resilience and aspiration of its people. Beyond its natural and cultural wealth, the county has also produced some of the most respected figures in the Ambazonian struggle, one like Fon Ngorji Dinka. And at the heart of these icons stand the father of Ambazonia and a son of Momo whose vision laid the intellectual, legal, and ideological foundation for the independence movement. A barrister, traditional ruler, and political activist, Fon Ngorji Dinka coined the very name Ambazonia, articulated its legal right to self-determination, and inspired generations of activists. His legacy remains pivotal, not just for Momo, but for the identity and legitimacy of Ambazonia itself. Well, today's editorial only highlights Momo's county as both a geographical cradle of culture and a symbolic birthplace of Ambazonian liberation thought, with Fon Ngorji Dinka immortalized as the county's towering icon of freedom. And with that, we'll hand the baton back over to our news director, Mr. Party King.
That was simply amazing. There's that smart, and that was a great collection from all of you in the newsroom there. Congratulations. The newsroom has done their best to refresh Ambazonians that Momo is worth reckoning with. The ball is on your court. Professor Ayim and Commander Kenneth, please, doctors.
Yes, that was a very beautiful expose. Congratulations to the news team about the expose about His Royal Highness Fon Ngorji Dinka of Widikum, the icon. So this gives us the Ambazonians reason to draft more than ever now, because the spirit, the Momo spirit, is up even better than before. We had been in Momo doing things by way of LGAs, defending themselves and other stuff. But the good news is that Momo has the Momo Ambazonia State Army now, and they have resolved to act as a unit. So it's a county force, not more LGAs. So the pounding Mogamo had in the past will not be a burden for Mogamo alone. The Momo Ambazonia State Army will step in. And this will happen everywhere around Momo. This is a new day. So Ambazonians, draft for Momo this time. Draft heavily. Let this new dispensation kick off in the best way possible. Ambazonians, let me remind you that what you see happening in Widikum about that senator doing what he's doing there is a drama. It's a drama. It's not really genuine. I can tell you that the Ambazonia State Army of Widikum LGA are still there, have not been touched. In Widikum, you have the ADF, the LPLC, all that stuff. They call it, and the Amban boys, the Tangaji boys as well. So no ASA has been. It is just drama here by the senator. He knows what he's doing. He knows the right thing. Those boys arrested that we see are not. So, people who are there without guns, and then when they arrest them with the you see guns all over. Where did these guns come from? It's a drama. It's a drama. So please ignore this. Look forward. They're doing what they're doing. Let's do what we do and draft heavily for Momo. The Momo ASA is going to take charge, and you will be proud of Momo, just like you are proud of Bui. Okay? So that is a new dispensation. We call on you all to rally behind Momo. This new Momo is going to make you proud. Thank you.
I like the fact that you call it new Momo. Tell us, what is this? What is different structurally? I'm talking about governmental structure. Because there's something I always say here every year. One thing Ambazonian, the local government and the county leadership must understand is that the people of Ambazonia turn to divorce you when they notice you're not in full agreement with the federal government. So you talked about the new Momo. What is it about this new Momo structurally, in terms of their structure, that should inspire Ambazonians this evening? I'll stay with you. I'll stay with you, Professor Ayim, before I come to the defense side.
Its new Momo supports the government of the Southern Cameroons, Ambazonia, headed by His Excellency Dr. Samuel Ekome Sako, 100%. Okay? And the difference is the strategy of the ASA. At first, we have Momo ASA. Now we have Momo ASA. That shift in strategy is major. So you will not hear Mogamo being pounded as before, etc. One LGA bearing the brunt of things happening in this LGA. It will be a collective fight. It will be a collective defense by the entire county going forward.
Amazing.
So that is a big
quick one, Professor. All the leadership in all the different LGA, like Menemo and Mogamo,
right,
are they in?
Yeah, yes, sir. Yes, sir. There are 5 LGAs in Momo. They are speaking all in unity. Widikum LGA, Mogamo LGA, Menemo LGA, Ngi LGA, Njikwa LGA. All the generals, they are speaking like one. They are acting like one. So that Momo ASA is everybody in. Nobody's outside. They have held their meetings. They have put themselves together. And we don't want to go into details to you here. But know that Momo will be fighting as a unit, not as LGS in the past.
Commander Kenneth, talk to us more on that before the barristers conclude this segment of our program. I think our time is fast spent. Commander Kenneth, please talk more on that, please.
Yeah, thank you, Director Padi. Thank you for having me once more. Let me start by saying that in the past, let me answer your question by, the issue of the leadership. Those that are with us right now, they are people who believe in the vision of that we are under this, our president, His Excellency Dr. Samuel Ekome. We believe in his vision to take us across the finishing line. We don't doubt him. So for that, those that are with us right now, we are making sure that we put our efforts together to rally those that we have on the home front, our ASAs, to make sure that whatever activities they want to carry out, they should take it that they are working from the level of the county. They can go across any LGA to carry out any of their operations there. In the past, we've had some people that used to call some of the ASAs in our counties and tell them not to collaborate with people from certain LGBs or the defense executive, telling them that, okay, with this person, stop, don't even work with this person, or don't work with that person. We've had them before. And, the effect it has on such commanders, it demoralizes them. It doesn't, it makes them, they don't want to go across the board to do what they're supposed to do. And when it happens like that, the only thing we can do is just to wait and gradually educate the fighters to make sure that they come back and understand the importance of standing for their civilians, standing for the revolution, standing for our government, making sure that those that they're there to protect, they should be looking at those individuals that are calling them and giving them those stories. They should be able to look at the bigger picture, what we all stand for. And with that education, we are making great strides. We are talking to them, they are coming together, they're having a better knowledge, better understanding of the way things are supposed to be done. And as I said earlier, there are those of them that maybe due to what La Republic has been doing, sending out their forces to, sending out those that they release from prisons and come and just chase them around. When we started this, we knew that it wasn't going to end in a year or two. It wasn't a sprint. We've understood that it's a marathon. And we are in our territory for as long as it takes. If the public cares, let them continue sending those people. We'll take time to study them and we'll look for a way to take them out. I think that time has come, whereby Momo has decided that those that we have, those that want to come back, because as I said, some have been out. And they are coming, saying that, okay, we have seen what is happening. We have seen how some of them are being, they're being taken out. We are coming back to make sure that we together will make Momo rise again. And there is something that I want us to know as Momo and most of the good, some of those good fighters that we had, those that were taken out, La Republic did that. It was, they did those, they planned for some time and they did that. But there were a lot of them that were below some of those fighters that some of the sort of dispersed. They're looking at things, they've studied things. As I said, they're coming back. And the other part of it is that we see sometimes our people being tormented on the ground by certain individuals. And we don't know where they come from. La Republic knows most of those people. They're the ones that send them there. When they send them there, they're out there. They commit those atrocities. They don't take them out. Not that they don't know where they are. They know. Because as I'm saying this, some of them are listening to us. They send them just to come and cause havoc on our people. Our people have gradually come to that realization. They understand that there are those that are there genuinely fighting for the revolution. And they understand that there are those of them that are there doing those things. Those they are so-called terrorist military, they know where those people are. They never go after them. But when there is that genuine fighter that is protecting our people, they go after such fighters. Our people know that. And when they don't release that information, that's why you find them going after our people. We'll continue, to build up the forces. We'll continue to educate them, as I've said. The unity we have right now, especially at the level of the county and the defense department, is that which we are pleading with Ambazonians. Step forward and do what you can do for Momo. Momo will deliver. Thank you.
That's amazing right there. I would like Barrister Fru and Barrister Mbeseha to conclude this grandiose end of tonight's pre-draft. Barrister Fru, please.
Yes, sir. I am very, very delighted listening to Commander Kenneth and Professor Ayim. particularly Commandant Kenneth, realizes, like most of us do, that Momo is a very difficult terrain. Most of our coup plotters came from Momo. I'll give just an example. The Ngi LGA was decapitated by one man. Seized all the arms that LGA had, seized all the money, and went underground. He calls himself as he was then. I'm not talking about now. The LGA chair. I wouldn't call his name. You have a job to do, Commander Kenneth, and the rest of, and Professor Ayim, to ensure that the remnants of Ayabacho are taken care of from Mogamo. The remnants of all the other LGAs, blacklegs in all the other LGAs, and the coup plotters who are living fat in the LGAs that used to be very, very well furnished and very well armed, and they took away the arms and sold them. I don't know what they did with them. They are there. You have to be sure that you find a way to neutralize them and reestablish confidence on the people, on the boys on the ground. The boys will now be the Momo task force of this LGA, the Momo task force of that LGA, and so on, led by General. I am very, very excited to hear the plan. The plan is a very good one, and rest assured, Ambazonians will give you all it takes to rebuild. Thank you very much.
Vice Mbeseha, please.
Again, thank you for giving me this last opportunity. I will devote these last few minutes back to what has not been said about Gorji Dinka. And it's good for us to have this on the record. Gorji Dinka is the only surviving member of the Ambazonian Southern Council from 1959, who knew and discussed the so-called unification with British Cameroon, with Southern Cameroon, with East Cameroon. In 1959, Gorji Dinka was still a young student in London, but he led a delegation to the United Nations when the idea of the two alternatives, that is independence by joining either Nigeria or Cameroon, came up. So he led that delegation there at the United Nations in 1959. I'm sure he's all still surviving, the rest are all dead. So he lived it. He knows what was discussed as the two alternatives. He's not telling a hearsay story. I'm back after that he graduated from the university and set up in Cameroon as well. Insider and a truthful insider. In 1968 or 67, after the change from several parties to one party, Gorji Dinka was the secretary of the faculty section of the CPDM. He was. And when they went up to 1972 to abolish the constitution, he was there. He saw everything going wrong. And so Dinka says in 1904, after Paul Biya's decree, that this is a violation and a restoration of our independence. He meant it by legal standards, by eyewitness occasions. And so again, before that, he's a good fighter. This is a man who has fought all his life without throwing a stone at anybody, just using the legal language. In 1970, he is the other man who went out to defend Dinka, Nomo, the Bishop of Kongsamba, who was charged for being involved in terrorism. He was not a francophone, but he left Ambazonia, volunteered services across borderline to go and defend Nomo. And so this is an icon whose name we know, but what we shall call him at the end of this struggle, I don't know. But I guess when we get to Buya, if there's never existed anywhere else in the world, we will create a place for him. For a person who fought all the battles without throwing a stone at anybody. He fought the legal battles. He fought the historical battle by facts that no one has been able to challenge up to this point. The Paul Bias and the rest might have heard about in 1961. None of them was at the United Nations in 1959. And so when Gojinika says what he says, I think it is history that he lived. It is not history that he read. And so we're lucky to have this great song of Momo. Not just because of Momo, but it's also a traditional ruler. And so you put all these colors on this gentleman.
Yeah.
What shall he be called tomorrow in Buea? A powerful traditional ruler? I don't know. A powerful lawyer? I don't know. An impossible politician? Both of these will be combined. Historians will reserve a place for willing to carve a name for him. A statue will be for people of that nature, and you probably will stand in front of it. That said, an encouragement for all Ambazonians to say we still have a living monument of our struggle among us. He's not dead, he's still living. And if anything, respect the idea that we are fighting today to restore our institutions. Because Kojininka had restored them in 1984, more than 30 years ago. This should be a reason why we must draft. Again, history must have a place for people who have done the best. Those who have done the best do not lack detractors. Detractors have always existed in the world. They are there. Let us not make a mistake. It is not only in Momo. We have had detractors all over Ambazonia. And so, Sako says, and it here, do the best. Goja did, Dinka did his best. If I do not do the right thing, come in and do the right thing, don't criticize me.
That's amazing.
I wish to complete it.
I wish we had all the time to say it all. Commander Kenneth, please go ahead, please.
Yeah, okay. Now, just I want to take this opportunity to thank you and Starlink and Audio, those that have been doing a great job behind the scenes. And I want to thank the two barristers and our dear, my fellow panelists, all of us. I want to thank you all. And I want to emphasize on the point that Professor Ayim, thank you so much. The one you raised with the issue of those that were laying down their arms. Those are not fighters we know in Momo. When we talk about La Republic infiltrating and bringing their own people in there to cause havoc on our people, those are the same people they're taking out of the bushes. Those are the people that were causing that havoc. We've decided that, as I said, we will go after them. And Director Padi, this is another point I want you to take next time. You know, we are talking about the elections that are coming up right now that they want to, they are sham elections that they want to carry out in Ambazonia. It is rather unfortunate that, you know, we got this late. You know, where people have been having this issue of ID cards for the past 4 or 5 years, that when you go, you try to make an ID card because they really harass our people when they go around without those ID cards. Those that have been trying to get those ID cards, you know, they just all of a sudden said people should come and make ID cards free of charge. And before you make that ID card, they were asking you to present a voter's card. If you already had those that were going to renew, you have to prove one. So when you do that, they take your name down. That is already making our people to vote. Our people will be voting without knowing. La Republic is doing that. We want the world to know. Our people are not engaged in any activities. We don't want La Republic out of our territory. Momo is fighting. We are rebuilding. We'll be right back. Please stand with us and help us in this job. Thank you.
That's amazing. But Mr. Fru, do you realize that we both made the same error today? I don't know. Maybe the spirit of Daddy Joe Bashi is so strong. Instead of calling Menchum, we are calling Dogamantu.
It's meant to. You are the one who made the error. I said Menchum. And I even know the SGO who was there.
You also had a slit of tongue before you corrected it. So maybe there is a spirit of Joe Bashi. I even told you
I told you about the SDO and the Minister of Territorial Administration, Maxime Mangeme. Those are I even have those facts.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, fellow Ambazonians, we've had a great night. Momo is a force to reckon with. Momo needs us today more than ever before. We're looking up for you to show up for Momo the same way Momo would show up for you. Momo needs a revival. In fact, there's a revival ongoing in Momo, and the fuel is supposed to be provided tonight. While we cross over to the Zoom meeting to hand over to Professor Ayim and the other moderators to coordinate this evening, I'll leave you with this voice from Dr. Mungwa. Stay tuned.
This is the voice of Ambazonia. Truth in resistance, clarity in crisis. Today's commentary is titled From Darkness to Hope, Dr. Sako and the Legacy of True Leadership. Fellow Ambazonians, greetings. In times of despair and despondency, it is good leadership that ignites hope and renews courage in the people. Throughout history, nations under oppression have looked not only to weapons of war, but to the moral strength, vision, and character of their leaders to chart the path to freedom. Ambazonia is no exception. Dr. Samuel Ikomaseko has distinguished himself as such a leader. In the face of betrayal, sabotage, and overwhelming odds, he has held fast to the conviction that our liberation is not just a political project, but a moral obligation to future generations. Where others sought personal glory or momentary advantage, Dr. Sako remained unwavering. His commitment to the Ambazonia dream, complete liberation, has never wavered. His leadership has been marked by selflessness and sacrifice. At a time when many thought the revolution had lost direction, Dr. Sako transformed it into a glimmer of hope. He has refused to compromise the essence of our struggle for short-term gain. Instead, he continually emphasizes discipline, organization, and collective responsibility. He reminds us that our true strength lies not only in self-defense, but in unity, civil disobedience, and faith in the justice of our cause. History gives us powerful examples. When Europe fell under Nazi domination, when France collapsed, Britain stood alone. The world thought it was finished, but Winston Churchill, with unyielding defiance, rallied not only Britain, but the free world. His vision, his steadfastness, and his words turned despair into courage and weakness into resolve. Africa gave us Nelson Mandela. For 27 years, he was locked away on Robben Island. Many thought silence would bury the struggle. Yet, Mandela emerged without bitterness, stronger than ever. His resilience and reconciliation united a divided nation and dismantled apartheid. Like Churchill, like Mandela, Dr. Sako has emerged as the voice of resilience in our darkest hour. He has refused to place personal comfort above the movement. He has inspired courage where there was sorrow and projected hope where there was despair. Today, Ambazonians face occupation, international indifference, and the daily brutality of a genocidal regime. Yet, even in these trials, Dr. Sako reminds us freedom is within reach if we hold firm. Our people's primary weapon is not a gun, it is disobedience. It is ghost towns. It is steadfast defiance of colonial authority. As the revolution advances, let us remember, good leadership does not end with promises. It endures in sacrifice. It inspires with integrity. It sustains with vision. Dr. Sako embodies this truth. Like Churchill in Europe's darkest hour, like Mandela under apartheid, he has turned our grief into courage, our confusion into focus, and our despair into hope. Ambazonia's march to freedom is far from complete, but with leaders of conviction and humility, we are assured that the journey, however long, shall end in victory. This has been the voice of Ambazonia. Truth in resistance, clarity in crisis.